Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest installment of our Innovation at Scale webinar and thought leadership series. Just so that everybody knows, we're recording the webinar today, and we will share a copy of this with you all after the session for you to re-reference and share with others in your networks, teams, etc. You may occasionally, as we're talking, see things pop up on the screen, as our webinar software allows us to share links with you in session. And as such, if we reference content or future events, we'll try and share and make that easy for you to access and interact with on the screen. But don't distract you too much, because there's lots of interesting topics coming your way today. The format for today is going to be about 30 minutes or so of knowledge sharing from our esteemed guests from A2A, followed by about 20 to 25 minutes of questions and a more open discussion in the second part of the session. With that in mind, please note there's a questions section in the tool that you've logged into today. And if any of you do have any questions, feel free to post them throughout, as we will pick those up in the Q&A session at the end. I'll keep an eye on those and make sure that we cover as many of them as we can. If we have too many questions to cover, we'll make sure that we send you our thoughts afterwards in response to the questions that you pose. Before I introduce today's guests, allow me to quickly introduce myself. Those of you who do not yet know me, I'm Simon Hill, and I'm the founder and CEO of Wazoku, and I'm going to be chairing today's discussion. Wazoku and our open innovation product, Incentive, are collectively pioneers in the open innovation, crowdsourcing, and innovation at scale sector. Wazoku provides the tools and processes to help you think and act differently, to accelerate your time from idea to invoice, to embrace diversity on a global scale, to accelerate your research and innovation efforts, and to do so with unparalleled success, having solved almost 80% of the innovation challenges we've run over a 20-year period. Through our market-leading software and services, we uniquely help our clients to empower everyone, your employees, your partners, your customers, to co-create, collaborate, and innovate with you and for you, and offer you on-demand access to over 500,000 expert innovators, plus a global pool of startups, students, and research centers. In fact, we offer you the power of the global collective intelligence to help you innovate better, faster, and cheaper, and drive true value and impact. And with that, I'm delighted to introduce our three guests for today's knowledge sharing and learning webinar. They'll be discussing how one business problem was converted into a business opportunity. And I'm delighted, therefore, to be joined by Patrick Oungre, Francesco Buresti, and Luca Cavalletto. Got those pronunciations hopefully vaguely right, gentlemen, who for the next 30 minutes or so will be talking to you about the business of A2A, an overview of their innovation journey to date, how they arrived at using open innovation as a tool in their innovation portfolio, and then taking a deep dive into the specific business challenge that we spoke about, and explaining the opportunity that came off of the back of it. There'll be lots of knowledge sharing, and the team will take their time to share their advice to people who haven't tried open innovation before, as this was quite new to A2A not that long ago. Remember to use the questions panel if any questions come to mind, and we will cover those at the end. And with that, may I please pass the mic over to Patrick to kick us off. Patrick, thank you. The stage is yours.
Thank you, Simon, and good afternoon to everybody. I'm the responsible for the innovation program and the corporate venture capital in A2A. Before jumping on how we manage innovation, let me just say a few words on who is A2A. So we're a company with more than 100 years of history. We came out from the merger of the municipalities of Milan and Brescia, and the company called AMSA that is appointed of providing the collection of treatment and waste. If you can go, please, next on the slide, we have some figure about it, A2A. On the next. Today, we are a group with more than 12,000 employees. We have 1.2 billion EBITDA and an installed capacity, our capacity of 9 gigawatts. We call ourselves Life Company. This is a brand new concept that goes beyond the traditional concept of a multi-utility. And the reason is that A2A deals with energy, water, with the environment. So we take care of those conditions that are necessary for life and the quality of life. Next slide, please. At the beginning of this year, we approved our new strategic plan. For the first time ever, the plan is a 10 years plan. So it's concentrated with a longer horizon than we used to have before. And we are addressing two challenges related to two main domains. So on one side, we have the circular economy. Simplifying the concept means trying to extract value from what is typically used to be considered waste. And this domain is gaining more and more relevance as we know that humanity's demand of resources in a given year is exceeding what the Earth can generate in that year. So what is so-called the overshoot day. So actually finding alternatives to commit researchers to landfill is becoming crucial. So providing a second or a third life to material. The second pillar is energy transition. This is a very large umbrella that covers domains related to green energy production and distribution, electrification, sustainable mobility, and many others. And Francesco will talk a little bit more about this. Just to share you with some figure, in the next 10 years, we expect to invest 16 billions of euros. The 90% of those investments will be ESG aligned because we have a strong commitment on sustainability. We have the ambition to reduce by 30% the group emission factor. We have the ambition to avoid 31 million tons of CO2. And to sustain the energy transition, we have our plan to add new 3.7 gigawatt installed capacity of renewable. So coming on, what is my role in the company on the next slide? So if you ask me what is the role of innovation within a company, what I every time say is that we are trying to, let's say, break the mold. So we have to think outside the box. We have to bring into the company new perspective and fresh way of doing things. We also understand what are impactful trajectories driven by technology progress, or societal, economic, or environmental challenges. We get a job done if we are able to anticipate or quickly react to disruption driven by newcomer, even consolidated, that can transform the competitive landscape. Colleagues from the business unit to build a portfolio of initiatives that sustain the short, the medium, and long-term goals through innovation. And in my perspective, this means driving change and also changing, introduce new way of doing things. As we used to approach innovation in a standard way, now we are trying to change the mindset and introduce also new process like crowdsourcing to problem solving and introduce novelty into the company. So in this slide, you can see how we are managing innovation. So to sustain our 10 years plan, we decide to structure our open innovation strategy on three main pillars. The first one is we are building an outside-in program that has a role to spot opportunities all around the globe through a variety of initiatives such as scouting program with a partnership with Plug and Play. We are launching innovation challenges, both hosted on our proprietary portal and also leveraging Innocenti, for example, as an innovation broker. And then we are building a relationship with research center, technology transfer office, accelerator, and incubator. The second pillar is we are leveraging the power of our internal human capital. So we are trying to stimulate bottom-up ideas. So we launch periodically ideation program that have a twofold goal. So create and foster innovation culture within our group and try to also to create an impact that can be incremental or transformative on the business side. The third pillar is we are investing in early stage promising startup with an industrial perspective. So we are not a traditional VC, we are an industrial operator. So we are more interested in creating competitive advantages investing on those startups in the medium and the long term. So we get a job done blending VC competencies provided by 360 Capital Partner and our industrial competencies across all the business domain that we cover. On the next slide, just to give you some figure about what we have done so far in the last 1 year and a half, 2 years. So we have met more than 600 startups in less than 2 years. We have run 38 projects and experimentation on field. And we are being agile in working with startups. So in the last months, we launched what we call the Startup Kit. It's a brand new way of approaching the startups. So we are able in less than 1 week to be on field with a startup. So we contractualize in less than 1 week in a digital way. So it's a way that enable us to test and trial a new solution in the group. In the last 2 years, we invested through our CVC in 7 portfolio companies, and we can proudly say that we are probably the unique CVC arm of an Italian industrial player. So Italy, you know, it's not a cursor on this side. And then we launched 11 challenges. So we are leveraging the crowdsourcing, and we are approaching, and we have a plan to grow up this the utilization across the group of this tool, because we are experiencing good and positive feeling about this. On the next slide, just a bit about the digital way to let's say reach the ecosystem, because we truly believe that to exploit the power of the global community is crucial to have a digital layer to approach the community. So this is why we have launched our Open Innovation Portal last year, and we consider this as a sort of digital window to the ecosystem to spot and build opportunity with third party. And this is a very synergic initiative with the in the scientific community. So we are jointly integrated, and that this creates more power to what we can spot on the ecosystem. On the next slide, just a few bit on how the process works. So this is a standard way we approach innovation. So on the left of the chart, you can see many different channels. I say that we are approaching innovation with a multi-channel approach. So we have to increase the number of channels to spot ideas and find the right channel according to the challenge that we have to face for our colleagues. So sometimes we need to approach research centers. Sometimes we have to scout for startup in a digital sector. So the channel can be combined according to what we are looking in the ecosystem. When we spot an idea, then we enrich it and we, let's say, accompany along the entire process through our innovation manager network. And I would say that the process can be adapted to the specific idea according to the project complexity. So we can jump on different phases of the process. So this makes our process very, very, very flexible. Before leaving the floor to Francesco to talk in details about the business unit leads, I would let's say summarize what are the benefits of open innovation in our perspective on the next slide. So it's relevant for us to approach open innovation because we can introduce new perspective of doing things. So we used to work with a very technical approach on specific areas, but sometimes when you bring into the company new and fresh ways of seeing things and approaching things, you can create value for your colleagues. And Luca will talk about the experience he had in approaching a very specific problem through crowdsourcing. The second point is that we can dramatically accelerate the time to market and the asset creation process. So we can reduce time, we can parallelize the process of ideating and conceptualize, providing your challenge to the crowdsourcing. The third point is very relevant because we are a small team. Through crowdsourcing and through open innovation, we can turn variable the R&D and innovation costs. So we can, let's say, scale up and scale down our ability to find solution on the market according to, let's say, business needs and our colleagues' inputs. The fourth point is that we can leverage unaccountable brains. So again, we are, say, a small company in a local, in a national territory, but we can go global with this kind of approach. So we can leverage uncountable brains across the national geographic boundaries. So I think that this is a very valuable, let's say, way of improving our ability to innovate. I would leave the floor to Francesco, that is the director of the business unit networks, for discussing and telling you what are the challenges of the direction that we lead, and how crowdsourcing and innovation can help the area. Thank you, Sam.
Okay, thank you, Patrick. Hello, everybody, and first of all, thanks to Wazoku for the invitation to speak to you regarding our experience. A couple of words regarding the networks business unit inside A2A. It manages, as the name implies, network activities. We're basically managing electrical networks, gas networks, water, integrated cycle, district heating, plus a collection of smaller businesses like public lighting and electric mobility and smart city activity. And we are very much immersed into the challenges that Patrick described in the beginning. First of all, obviously, the energy transition. Everybody is talking about it these days, about this topic. For us, it means facing and leading, actually, an electrification of consumption. That means making our electrical network much stronger, better capable of managing higher loads, and providing a more quality service. The gas networks will remain a very important part of the mix, even if its relative importance is expected to lower, especially in the areas where we work that are among the most technologically and culturally advanced in the country. Water networks and district heating are more involved into the circular economy. Why? Because they manage very important resources like water, or try to use whatever wasted heat comes in our territory from industrial activities to heat the homes of the citizens of our cities. That, as you may know, is one of the biggest challenges regarding decarbonization of the economy that humanity faces, and so we work very much in line with obviously all the rest of the company. Since the definition of the new industrial plan, we faced the opportunity of increasing dramatically our investment plan, and that was historically in the range of 250 to 300 million a year, and is now looking at a 6 billion budget for 10 years. So on average is almost the double of what we historically did. And this requires obviously a lot of investment in infrastructures. That is what we manage. In particular, regarding the electrical network, we work in two towns, two rich towns in the north of Italy. It's Milan and Brescia, that have a very old network. Those were among the first the first towns in Italy to be electrified over 100 years ago. And reality, they are very dense in a very compressed space, and finding space for infrastructure is very difficult. We run thousands of works every year in the streets of our towns in order to substitute cable, put new substations, new transformers, new equipment, make them a lot smarter. And in reality, the biggest constraint we have is not in the engineering or in the money availability side or in the customer acceptance, but is finding space. Finding space in tight and highly inhabited cities is extremely difficult. Obviously, the preference of the citizens and of the municipality is for each and every available space to be dedicated to green infrastructure that is badly needed in packed towns. And nobody really likes industrial infrastructures like substations are. So we have a lot of infrastructure that is down Earth, and this creates obviously some problems, because when heat goes extremely high, you have big problems in making this infrastructure work properly. And in case of flooding, that happens quite often in the latest period, and will probably happen even more often in the future if projections for climate change are right. It's very common that this under-earth structure goes underwater. So we were really looking for some technical solution that could help us overcome these constraints and help us find an infrastructure that is extremely, space, let's say space compressed, that puts all the necessary equipment in the less possible space, that is possibly watertight, can be moved easily around, and can be installed in, the typical chambers that we have available, or even new chambers that we will have to put in place. We are thinking about having 50% more substations in the next 4 or 5 years in the city of Milan, and obviously making the typical historical way was not an option. So we started looking at this problem with the typical way. We called our big suppliers of big equipments, like all the big names in the sector, like Schneider, Siemens, ABB. All these guys described our problems, and simply the answer was that there was no answer. There was nothing available, nothing on in the engineering department. Nobody's really looking at it. We are all focused on other issues. But these issues for us was probably the most important one. So we started sitting down with Patrick and the team from the innovation guys, and started looking for alternatives. And this opportunity of looking to the crowd, like crowdsourcing ideas from the outside, in order to design something that was what we needed, and then that we can leverage in our network, and possibly even in the networks of other companies who face the same problem, came up like an opportunity, but we needed someone to help us with that. So to tell you the story about this very specific example, I will turn the floor to Luca Cavalletto, who works in Oungre. Oungre is a company in the business unit that manages electrical and gas networks in all our municipalities. He's the head of asset management, so he's basically leading the brain of the organization that looks for both the planning and design of the network and the maintenance policy for all our equipment. And he basically took on his shoulders the load of solving this problem and helping us with that. Luca, the floor is yours. Thanks.
Thank you, Francesco, and good afternoon to everybody. Next slide, please. Okay, thank you. As Francesco said and Patrick said, we plan to make a huge investment toward our grids in the next few years. We will invest billions in our existing asset, in our primary substation, electric lines, and the secondary substation. The last one, which is the asset on our grid that avoid the electric energies present in our homes. And in each cities of the world are present thousands of these substations. And in this project, we had to focus on these assets, and we will solve 3 issues: weather, space, and electrification. Let me to underline the issue electrification. Is an issue and an opportunity. For the last couple of years, a lot of services were electrified. Things like heating with heat pump, heat with induction cooking, and last but not the least, electric mobility. All of these facilities will continue to become faster and more high-tech. In this regard, the DSOs, like Untitled, needed to understand how to upgrade quickly its grids. It will also have to know how to build and upgrade the grids to be ready for the future. We know the digitalization is now part of our reality, and for this we need to change or upgrade a lot of hardware and infrastructure to keep up with the demand. Usually, to solve this issue, a group of expert engineers will study each section of the substation to upgrade it as much as possible. These upgrades are time-consuming usually, and maybe not the best long-term solution. To combat this, please, we go to the next slide. We adopt a new strategy. We decide, as you know, to involve incentive with your solvers in coming up with new and innovative solutions. Bear in mind that these solvers are not only electrical engineers, but also inventors in other sectors. And with this approach, we give them an opportunity to appreciate the challenges that face us. I can tell you that the ideas which came out of this process were interesting, very interesting. Also interesting was the fact that it took us only 2 weeks to share our needs and only 4 weeks to receive a feedback. In addition, we also received more than 70 positive proposals. I never thought we would reach that number. There were 12 different submissions, and in the end, we received 3 complete proposals sent to us for analysis in 1 month. Very incredible process in a short time. If you go to the next slide, please. Here is present some ideas to receive, and some ideas were too futuristic, and some were too costly. An example in point 3, one really good idea was to build a cylindrical substation with a spiral staircase. Is one of that proposal. Maybe it's a good project, but not simple to build and also to maintain. Then we have to also the issue of safe access. If you go to the next slide, the last slide, and in the end, the simplicity and the cost effectiveness won. The idea is to build a simple but highly compact substation where it's possible to actually reuse or repurpose existing assets while having a minimum assets necessary for workers. This simple idea was the starting point. With some little change here and there, it allowed us to apply for an intellectual patent. And the next step was to speak with the producer, as Francesco said, with Schneider in this situation. And it's important with Schneider to share our vision and build a first prototype. Our target is to build a prototype before 2023 and install the first prototype in the Untitled Smart Lab in Milan, which is testing area for our new technology. After this first phase, we want to install hundreds of compact substations in our cities to increase grid resilience and also allow all citizens to use electric vehicles, an example, or heat pumps without grid fault. This substation will not be affected by flood also, and any longer, which will also be a positive outcome for the future. Okay, thanks for your attention, and I'll be waiting for you in Milan in the next month when this idea become a reality.
Thank you, Luca. Thank you, Francesco. Thank you, Patrick, and also bang on time as well. Well done for 3. I told you the perfect relay race here. Thank you all of you for sharing so openly as well about your experiences in all aspects of your innovation program. we've got a number of questions in here, and everyone please keep them coming in the questions tab, please, rather than the chat tab. It makes it easier for me to keep on top of them in the software. I'm going to do this in a democratic fashion, as you might expect, given the type of business that we are, and just start with the thing that's got the most upvotes, which is a question from Tim, which I guess any one of you, but maybe Patrick, I'll start with you, is how have you encouraged ideas and engagement in innovation generally from your colleagues? So how do you drive engagement?
Yeah, what we experienced in the past months a brand new way of engaging employees. So for the first time ever, we launched an inclusive challenge open to all the group. So we've been able to reach 6,000 colleagues. We are 12,000, but 6,000 works on field, so they don't have the email. So we focus on the 6,000 that have a PC and email, and we have 3,000 employees active on our platform, and we ask them to propose ideas to sustain our strategic plan. So I mean, we got in 6 weeks 546 ideas, so a high number for us. And the 300 groups have been created without any, let's say, constraints. So in a digital way, they've been able to combine each other according to the experience. They had a chance to collaborate on this digital platform and say in a social way, jointly create this group. And that's been a positive experience, because we could accompany those 300 teams along a digital path. And a couple of weeks ago, we celebrate the 18 that say reached the end of this path. And they could propose a sort of prototypes. So we start from an idea, and then we could have something concrete to show to Francesco and other C-level that join us in this celebration event. And what is interesting from a cultural perspective is that they could test themselves on something that was out of their comfort zone. So they could explore new tools of prototyping things, new tools to define a business idea, to explore market opportunities. So it was a sort of also training path they could experience. So now we are going to stabilize this kind of model, and we stabilize the bottom-up innovation within the company. So we'll launch in probably at the beginning of next year our internal innovation model to sustain a continuous innovation.
Perfect. Thank you, Patrick. The next question, unless Luca or Francesco want to add anything to that, is have you explored open innovation in the experimentation or incubation phases of the process that you outlined? So rather than using it up front, have you explored whether you could use the tools of open in any other aspects of your innovation process?
Well, at least from my side, I would say that most of the innovation that we drove in the last years was not that much through crowdsourcing or these kind of activities, but mostly collaborating specifically with startups that had a very specific potential solutions to problem, and involved basically focusing the problem in our environment, understanding and testing the capability of the solution to solve our specific problems, and then obviously decide either to proceed or to do some modification. That was, I would say, probably 80% of the things that we did. We tested these more open activities in this case, and we are testing in a new case now with the new platform in order to understand to solve another problem we discussed just yesterday. But I would say that no, we don't have that kind of experience until now.
Okay. And just on that thread, like, what is the process from the end of the challenge where you got a proposed solution through to actually looking to scale that into the market? Can you talk a bit about how you actually go from the end of the crowdsourcing challenge into the next stages?
Well, at least in my experience, that comes also from where I worked before, that is where things get difficult. I mean, everybody's able to come out with a proof of concept that looks fine, but embedding a solution in a 100-year company base, having either the tool or the algorithm or the software, whatever, used by everybody is where really the challenge is extremely. And we have seen it over and over. I would say that it requires a lot of management attention, because if you leave it to the lower ranks, it will get easily dispersed among those who like it and those who don't, and simply things don't get done. And you need a lot of project management. You need people, working around, checking things, and making reports. The old usual way of doing things. But when it gets done, every single step creates some more culture, creates some more positivity for these solutions, creates some more openness regarding the opportunity to introduce innovation. So I'm very positive and optimistic. But if there is a lesson that we can drive from these last years, is that from the end of the funnel that Patrick described to the complete implementation in 1,000 people companies is where a lot of the hard work is.
I think building on that question then, and thank you for that answer, is two questions that are kind of related, I think. So specifically related to the compact substation, there's a question that says, have you made a prototype or an MVP of this yet? If so, can you share the results? If not, why not? And a linked question was, when do you expect to realize and install the first stations, which I guess is linked to the previous.
Luca, why don't you take that?
Okay, at the moment we are discussing about to realize a prototype, but it's not already done at the moment. But first step is to realize a first prototype, to install it.
I can, Simon, I can add a point on this, because we designed this kind of challenge as an ideation. So the output of this was not a prototype, no? But we are testing now with incentive different challenges where the output is using the reduced to practice approach is a prototype. No.
See, this also refers to the type of challenge that you're facing. If you're looking for, a sensor or software, that's something that each innovator or small startup can take. If you're talking about substation, you need someone who has, thousands of euros to spend in transformers, in interrupters, equipment, and many things will have to be customized by A2A anyway, because our protection and control system is our system. So it's not something that you can build in your garage and come to us with a prototype. It would be very, very tough.
Yeah. Good. But I think, and to be clear though, your key lessons from this process, if I can summarize, was that there was a challenge that you hadn't really been able to solve a solution, find a viable solution through your traditional approaches to doing so, and we're able to uncover something that looked like a viable solution that you do now hope to be able to take forward, right? That you're still in the process, because it's complicated, of trying to work out how that will actually materialize itself.
Yeah, probably from this phase on, you will anyway need to involve the big equipment manufacturers, right? But you come there with an engineered ideas, with a customer who wants it, and the opportunity to create a market, and not simply a problem like it was before, when we did not have a lot of answers.
Okay, thank you. One interesting aspect, Sam, one interesting aspect. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, one interesting aspect that Luca said is that we had a chance to submit a patent. So we decided up front to configure this challenge with the transfer of the EP. So owning the EP, now we have a sort of strong, let's say, asset that we can then leverage and build with the manufacturer. But we have, let's say, a sort of protection of the first phase of the process. So we had an idea, we found an idea, we protected this idea through a patent. Now explore exploitation with the manufacturer, but we can jointly do this with someone that can build it because we have a patent.
Great, good. Thank you, Patrick. Thanks for clarifying that as well. There's a question on how you measure and think about return on investment through a program and a process like this. Do you have an opinion on that, or anything you can share?
We don't have an history. We don't have an history because we started last year leveraging this kind of approach. So we are now, let's say, trying to build an experience on field. But I can say that what we can now measure is the conversion of what is proposed by the crowd and what is interesting for our colleagues. This is the first point of, let's say, measurement that we can do without projecting the impact on EBITDA or other figures or other KPIs. Now we are interested more in understanding if this kind of approach can be valuable for our colleagues. And I would say that on the 11th challenge that we have launched this year, we have around the 10% of conversion rate. That means that we have at the end of the funnel 2, 3, 4 good ideas that are interesting for our colleagues. No? And I think that it is a good number of ideas because there are not too much, are a small group, and so we can work and we can put the effort on to explore those.
Great. I think you finished, Patrick. I lost you.
Consider this specific project.
Oh, sorry. I think we crossed over there a little bit on bandwidth. Just on that topic a little bit. So, how do you actually source the challenges, the innovation calls that you want to run, and do you employ the same sort of challenge-driven approach that you use for external through an incentive with your internal challenges as well?
What we do is working jointly with our business unit. So typically, we start from specific needs. This is why our innovation manager, working with Luca, Cavalletto, Francesco, Buresti colleagues, and other business units, we try to explore their business needs or technical needs, and then we help them identifying a sort of brief that can be then say published on the crowd. But depending on the specific need, as I said at the beginning, we identify the best channel to explore the opportunity, because I mean sometimes we know that in a specific accelerator or through our partner Plug and Play, we have a batch of startups that can get a job done on a specific topic. So we go straight forward on this group of startups. Otherwise, we have to explore other channels. So everything starts from, let's say, a joint activities with our colleagues.
Great. In terms of running open innovation challenges, it's often quite difficult for organizations who feel nervous about sharing these things in an open forum, getting the company behind you to agree to making public the thing that you are trying to do. What were the lessons that you learned in in running your first open innovation calls, what did you learn about what you had to get right internally, who you had to get on board to make these things possible, and get your first challenges live as an organization? Because lots of people are in that position, right? Like they kind of like the idea, but it can be quite daunting to have to go and do something very different for the first time.
Well, I would say that in this case was really simple because as I said before, we have a patent now, so we can also tell what is the solution, and we are working on it. So,
but before you ran the challenge, I mean, Patrick, like when you were actually going to go run that challenge for the first time, right? You'd had the substations challenge. You were reaching out to the world, right? Like for lots of businesses, that can be quite a daunting step. You know, did you have to do a lot to get internal support from your legal teams or your procurement teams or anything in terms of how this process was going to work? Your risk and compliance teams, anybody else?
No, we engage them not on the topic, but on how to approach the result of the challenge. This is why we decide with our legal team to define the transfer of the IP, because it was a strategic asset for the business unit. So we decide to transfer the IP, but we decide jointly with the business. So Luca finished the brief without any involvement of the legal or the purchase, because we assessed it before we purchased the department that there were no other solution on the market. So this kind of channel could be probably the right fit for this channel. So it's quite easy to publish it.
So that's a lesson. Don't involve them. If they can create problems, don't tell them. Tell them when it's done.
Yeah, exactly. We'll quote you, Francesco. Thank you. You said earlier, Patrick, I think it was Patrick, that having had such a positive experience with the open innovation piece, that you see this playing a much bigger role in your innovation portfolio across A2A going forward. Can you talk about what the future looks like in terms of open innovation as a part of your innovation toolkit at A2A?
I think so. We as I said at the beginning, we are trying to develop our open innovation strategy. So we last year we launched our CVC arm. So we are now also investing. So it's a new part of our open innovation program. And what we can see is that if we combine the CVC arm, so we invest in a startup, and then we experiment on field. So we run a project. If we work on synergy between these are of open innovation program, we can extract more value than working only on a single initiative. So, and also with the ecosystem, we are experiencing interesting on this approach, because they see us as an industrial operator, but also as an investor who can sustain their development on the market. So it's a balance of competencies that they appreciate.
Okay, good. So we have one more question. Before I ask it, I'm going to prepare you for the last question I'll ask you, which is, what surprised you most about your learnings from running open innovation? But don't answer that yet, because there's one more question in between, but just to warn you so you can think about it. The question that I'm going to ask before that is, what do you guys know about the solver that provided the winning solution? Anything about their background, experience, location that you can share? And are you doing anything else with them beyond sort of procuring the IP from their solution?
This is for Luca.
With this opportunity, we try to understand a new way to see this problem, and for us, for my colleagues, I think it will be even a good opportunity to understand how to change this, change this way to approach to the problem, and also we understand how to increase our our way to accelerate to quickly project our new solution. I don't know if I answer your question, Simon.
The specific question, Luca, was what do we know about the person who solved the challenge? So, like, what was their background? Where did they come from? Like, was it a technical expert in this specific area, or like was it a obvious? Were they round the corner from you? Were they far away? Like, what do you know about the winning solver?
Okay. The solver is an engineer from Turkish, and we know we have possibility to work to him, and is a very opportunity to understand, as I told before, a new way to approach to this problem, and we continues to work with these engineers also to upgrade this solution. For us, is a very good opportunity. I think in the future we will have another possibility to discuss with this engineer about the future problems.
Perfect. So Luca was so excited to answer my last question. He answered that first, but thank you, Luca. And great to hear that it forged a new partnership opportunity for you guys as well going forward. So last question then is, and Luca's answered this already, so either Francesco or Patrick, what surprised you most about this, or pleased you most about this this specific crowdsourcing challenge that you ran? What did you learn?
Well, first, in terms of surprise, I think probably the most interesting or unexpected thing in this process was that we are really deconstructing the supply chain in this case, because I mean, at least in the utility sector, either very big utilities were designing the equipment themselves and have some assemblers or manufacturer make them on design, or you were relying on the big names of the industry, like the ones I was talking about before, to provide you with a black box, let's say, solution, right? Something that is designed by their engineering department and it's coming off the shelf with some minor modifications into your network. In this case, we had the problem that was not solvable by these two typical approaches. So we basically had to deconstruct this very simple supply chain and find someone else to provide the design, right, of a design concept that we later patented and engineered. But this Turkish engineer, as good as he is, he will probably never be able to provide us with thousands of substations for our network, right? I mean, it's a matter of financial capacity, of manufacturing capability, of everything. I mean, it's not an industry; it's a person. So you basically have a more complex supply chain where new capability come in, and you have to integrate them and try not to hurt the the pride of anybody and make everything work. But in general, I think it's a great concept, a great idea that really opens up a world of possibilities. Because certainly there are thousands of people with great ideas who never had the opportunity because of how the supply chain was built before and how it was run to enter a place like the utility space. And this type of solution is really something that could change significantly the game. That's very interesting. Patrick, if you wanna add something, go ahead.
Yeah, as I said before, what surprised me also is the level of details of the pre-engineering phase, because the solver could describe at the level of single components of the substation. In the next phase, probably we'll again re-engineer the prototype. So we're not saying that what came out on this first phase will be the product of the market, but in less than 3 months, he could pre-engineer a compact substation. So in terms of idea to solution, we could compress the time. And so this is a very interesting thing when we have to, let's say, approach a very ambitious plan where we have to accelerate investments. So we need to compress time to deliver asset on our infrastructure. So we hope to, let's say, find also new challenge to approach on the same way.
Perfect. Gentlemen, thank you very much. We're basically at time. So I just want to say a huge thank you, first of all, to A2A for daring to think differently and try something new for the first time. And I'm pleased, we delivered such phenomenal results. Thank you to Patrick, to Francesco, and to Luca for giving up their time today, and to everyone for attending this truly fascinating webinar, where we showcase the incredible power of open innovation, not just to solve problems, but create significant commercial opportunity. So thank you, gentlemen. For those of you still eager to learn, we've got 2 more amazing sessions coming up. On Wednesday, the 27th of October, we'll be running a panel session with the Stanford professor and award-winning author and business founder, Charles O'Reilly. He'll be joined by Andrew Binns from ChangeLogic, Rick Webb, the former SVP of Innovation at Walmart and a board member of a number of leading disruptor firms, and Isaac Rocha from McDonald's, who'll be discussing and debating the topic of lead and disrupt, how to solve the innovator's dilemma, and the details of that should be on the screen for you now if you wish to register. There'll be other events following, and we'll send you links in an email afterwards. With that, I thank you all again for your time and hope to see you again soon. Stay safe, stay well, and all continue to help change the world one idea at a time. Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.